Mr. Speaker, I recently returned from a trip to Bangladesh where more than 1,100 garment workers died and 2,000 were injured in the Rana Plaza building collapse on April 24th. Many Americans may remember the horrible pictures of workers being buried under tons of concrete from the collapsed building. I learned a great deal about what must be done to improve safety conditions in the garment industry there. Bangladesh is the second largest garment producing nation, employing over 4 million skilled and industrious workers, mostly women, at a minimum wage of $37 a month. I learned that many factories continue to operate in unsafe residential or multi-story commercial buildings even after the Rana Plaza building collapse. I learned more about poor conditions created by a myriad of middlemen hired by retailers to pit one factory against the next, squeezing out the last few pennies per garment. I learned that Bangladesh garment workers subsidize those low prices with their lives. I visited the hospital where scores of women, many with amputated legs and arms, were suffering from brain damage from the collapse of that building where they were working and where they were locked inside. I met with the woman near Rana Plaza who was looking for her son, even though the unidentifiable or the unclaimed workers had been buried in a mass grave. And Rana Plaza is not an isolated case. I visited with 7 courageous women injured in the Tarzine Fashions factory fire that killed 112 workers last September. 7 women who had to jump from the 3rd and 4th floors of their factory because the factory supervisors locked the exits after the fire had started and told them to go back to work or they would be fired, and the doors were locked. That was the policy of that factory and many other factories, and just this week we saw poultry workers in China locked in the factory after the fire had started, and they too perished in the fire. 7 women who had to make the decision to jump from the 3rd and 4th floors of this factory to save their lives. Tazreen produced garments for Walmart and many other American brands. Listen to what the women told me. Rahana jumped from the 4th floor window and was knocked unconscious. She broke her leg, and doctors told her she will need to be on crutches the rest of her life. Reba was a breadwinner in her home. She jumped from the 3rd floor. She cannot work because of the pain. Her husband is sick. She has 2 sons, one who just qualified for the military college, but she doesn't know if she can afford to keep him there. And until I prodded the Bangladesh Garment Manufacturers Export Association, Reba had not received the promised stipend for those who were injured 6 months later. Roshana jumped from the 3rd floor and still has severe pain in her back and legs. She was visibly in pain and was sitting too long talking to us. She is single and gets by on loans. She has 2 teenage sons in school and doesn't want to force them to go to work, but she worries how she'll get by. Deepa worked on the 3rd floor. She saw the fire and tried to escape to the 2nd floor. The factory manager padlocked the door and told everyone to keep working. Workers were crying and searching for a way out. The mechanic yelled to come to the east side of the building where he had created an exit. She jumped from the 3rd floor and fell unconscious. She broke her left leg and was 4 months pregnant, and she lost her baby. Sumi decided to jump from the 3rd floor rather than perish in the factory because she wanted her family to be able to identify her body, and that wouldn't happen if she was consumed in the fire. She broke her leg and arm and could not move. Her family borrowed money to pay for her medical bills before the association funds arrived. 2 weeks before the Rana Plaza, she came to the U.S. to urge retailers and brands to join the enforceable and binding accord on fire and building safety. Nazma said she would have died if she waited 10 more minutes to jump. She saw the manager locking the gate to the 2nd set of stairs and grabbed him by the collar to stop him, but he ignored her. She cut her arms trying to get through the window to reach the bamboo scaffolding. She broke her backbone. She can't carry anything or do housework. She has 3 children. Her stipend went to medical care and to her children's education. Her 14-year-old son has had to leave school and try to find work. I'm grateful that women had the courage to tell me their stories. There is widespread agreement that the Tazreen fire and the Rana Plaza collapse, workers had a right to, if none of this would have happened, if they had had the right to refuse unsafe work, they would be alive today. Not the factory. Nobody denied that that's the case. But for too long, Bangladesh government has blocked new unions. Only now, facing the potential loss of trade preferences, the government has opened the door a crack, 27 new unions have been registered recently, reversing the trend where only one union per year was registered, and there are 5,000 factories. I met the leaders of some of these newly formed unions, young and serious workers, but only time will tell if the government lives up to its promise of the union rights. In addition, the Obama administration will soon conclude its review of Bangladesh's trade preferences under the Generalized System of Preferences. And in my view, these preferences should be suspended. The one message I have for the Americans holdouts who won't agree to these safety accords is listen to the women from Bangladesh.
The gentleman's time has expired.